All right, let's talk some late night Eagles here. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now. My name is Chase Sr., and if you're waking up with us on a Monday morning, of course, hope your weeks are off to a good start and you're able to flush what was a really annoying Eagles loss. And coming up here on the show, Philadelphia, of course, dropping their first game of the season to the Denver Broncos. I'm going to explain why I'm so heated with the way that the Eagles lost this game, because what really annoys me is bad football, making mistakes that are avoidable, and shooting yourselves in the foot. That's not what championship level teams do. Yet at Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday in Week 5, countless times the Eagles cost themselves over and over again. So that's what I want to get into here with this show. Before we do that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Win or lose, right here on the channel, Philadelphia Eagles Now. We're giving you top-notch Eagles coverage every single day year-round. Of course, thanks to everybody and all of the real ones who rocked with us during our watch party a little bit earlier, and those of you who tuned into our post-game reaction show. So we knew that the Eagles were going to lose at some point, right? They've been an imperfect team. They've been playing with fire. They have played a risky brand of football at times in all three phases. And their start, 4-0, has been flawed, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They're one of the worst statistical 4-0 teams in the history of the NFL. But I'm not hitting the panic button yet, even after this loss, but there are some concerning trends with this football team. And the first 5 games of the year, there have been a lot of maddening moments for this Eagles team, especially when you factor in how clean they played and how dominant they were once they started to find their stride last year in Week 7 or Week 8. And what's unfortunate about this Eagles defeat here on this Sunday, October 5th, is I like a lot of what we saw in the first 2+ quarters from this offense, and I loved what I saw from this Eagles defense the first 3 quarters of the game. Philadelphia's defense gave up 3 points to Denver in the first 3 quarters of the game. The Broncos did not have a red zone trip until they scored that first touchdown. But because the offense grew stale and the offense fell flat on its face, the defense got tired at the end, they ran out of gas, and they were waiting to get bailed out by this Eagles offense, and the Eagles offense wasn't able to do that. And after that Saquon Barkley 47-yard wheel route for a touchdown, this Eagles offense literally could not do anything. And credit to the Denver Broncos for changing what they did defensively. Early on, they played a lot of man, and then later in the game, they started to play more zone, and they confused the Eagles at the line of scrimmage. They loaded the box. That's why Saquon Barkley didn't get a ton of carries. But then when they would show blitz, they would drop people back, play some zone, and the Eagles had no answers. But on the offensive side of the football for the first 2+ quarters of this game, I thought Jalen Hurts played really well against one of the best defenses in the National Football League. For the game, Hurts was 23 of 38, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, had some great throws downfield, other big throws downfield that were completed but didn't count because of dumb penalties, and he had a 100.8 rating. This Broncos defense last year was one of the best units in the NFL. This year, they're repeating that type of success. And they came into this game number 1 in sacks with 15. They added 6 more sacks today as the Eagles offensive line continues to really struggle. They were number 1 in quarterback hits, 41, added a handful more, and they were number 1 in pressure rate at 47.1%. We saw why today. And that was one of my biggest concerns for this Eagles team going in, because a big reason why they've lacked rhythm and consistency on offense, their bread and butter, their backbone, their foundation, their offensive line has not been good. And today, the Denver Broncos up front kind of whooped the Eagles. Elsewhere for Denver, number 2 in points per game coming in at 16.8. They give up 17 today. 10th in yards per game at 285.3. 8th in yards per play. 4th on third downs. The Eagles were terrible on third downs. And then Denver also had the number 1 red zone scoring defense in the NFL. And the first red zone trip of the game for Philadelphia, they had to settle for 3. And now that I have it on my mind, the Eagles' third down efficiency, 2 of 11 on third downs. Broncos not better at 5 and 16, or 5 for 16, but late in the game, they were able to convert and the Eagles weren't. And what's unfortunate is that Hurts played so well, made some great throws, but because the Eagles offense collapsed and the Eagles choked and they gave up 18 fourth quarter points and they lost, nobody's going to remember what was an impressive Jalen Hurts performance, and a performance that was a good step in the right direction with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith getting involved in the pass game, looking explosive. And you think about some of the plays that Hurts made, right? The deep ball to Smitty, 52 yards on a rope. It was 50 air yards, dropped it right in the bucket. The touchdown throw to Goedert. He loves that out route in the red zone. Perfect throw. He called and drew up the Saquon wheel route as he burnt former Eagle Alex Singleton to a crisp. That's something else that I had talked about in the lead up to this game. Target the Broncos linebacker. It's not good in coverage. Eagles do their 47-yard score. There was the great long throw to Jahan Dotson where he couldn't get 2 feet down. And that's a player that doesn't get a lot of opportunities. But when you get a good opportunity, you got to finish that play. The deep ball to Smitty on the 4th down around midfield. Great throw, gave him a chance, could have changed the game, would have put the Eagles in the red zone, wiped out by a penalty. And what's so frustrating, the penalties, shooting yourselves in the foot and making these avoidable mistakes time and time again in this football game. It was really just a sloppy game from Philadelphia. And after that Saquon wheel route, 0 points on their last 5 drives for the Eagles offense. 2.7 yards per play. 3 first downs. And there's something else, too, that's a takeaway from this game. Everybody who wanted stats and explosives, you got those today. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They put up individual stats and numbers. What did it result in? A loss. And the Eagles offense scored 17 points. And I know a lot of you have a question, why did Saquon only get 6 carries? And I get, that is on Kevin Patullo for him to give Saquon Barkley the ball more. And it was inexcusable that Saquon only had 6 carries in the game, especially when this Eagles team had the lead. There's just no way that Saquon Barkley should only get 6 carries in a game, especially when you have a big lead in the second half. But a big reason for that, too, was because of what the Broncos were doing on the defensive side of the ball. Loading the box, started off playing man, then they were playing zone. They showed blitz, teased blitz, then they back everybody off. And this has been a problem all year. And another thing that annoys me, the Eagles have no answers against the zone defense. And Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, they got to figure it out. Because that continues to be a big problem for this football team. Now, I had my notes up, but I just got signed out of Google. I hate the world of 2-factor authentication and getting signed out of nowhere when I have my notes on a Google Doc. So let me pause, get my phone, fetch my password, and then we'll continue this show. All right, so we pick it back up. Man, that sucked. But we keep it moving here on this Sunday night. The password is reset and we're good to go. So I was talking about how, the Eagles were shooting themselves in the foot and the lack of Saquon touches and how the Eagles are struggling to find success against zone defenses, and they continue to have no answers. And the overall point that I'm trying to get to here is that some of the same things keep happening over and over again. And it's reoccurring problems that the Eagles haven't been able to figure out early in the season. And another reason why Saquon only got the 6 carries, by the way, it's because when wide receivers complain about touches and rolls, that's what happens. Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, they're like, well, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, we got to keep them happy, so let's air it out. Let's throw the ball. And so they got their numbers, but the Eagles' offense wasn't at its best in doing that, clearly. But going back to the overarching point, and I'm a little bit thrown off track here with having to pause the show and reset the password. Thanks for bearing with me. What annoys me the most, how sloppy the Eagles were today. And the things that we saw today resulted in the loss. Penalties pre-snap, not knowing where to line up, not getting set, unsportsmanlike conducts, personal foul penalties. All of these things are avoidable, inexcusable, non-button-up football things that elite teams usually avoid. And under Nick Sirianni, the Eagles have usually been able to avoid. And so when you couple that with the lack of execution, that's when you get the result that you got today, where the Broncos score 18 unanswered points, all of which in the fourth quarter, to come back and win the ball game. The pre-snap penalties put the Eagles behind the sticks. The personal foul penalties, it's good to play with emotion, and I like how the Eagles do that. They play with an edge. They play with confidence. They play with swagger. But they have to harness that a little bit. And the Saquon penalty, it was ridiculous, but it's not just the Saquon personal foul penalty. As the running back was fighting for extra yardage, he didn't hear a whistle, so he tried to finish the play. But those types of personal foul penalties have been a constant all year long. And what bothers me too is the reoccurring nature of these. And players, they keep saying on offense, we're not on the same page. Not on the same page. Well, how about this? Figure it out. Because you have to soon. And you have to this week. Play the Giants on Thursday. And I just want to go through some quotes of what players said after the game because they acknowledge this. Saquon, a lot of the penalties were honestly just dumb mistakes by us. We can't be making those silly mistakes. So don't make them. That's inexcusable, dumb football. Nick Sirianni, those are some self-inflicted things that we did. When those happen, I'm always putting that on myself. When we don't master the things that require no talent, that's something that's always going to be on me because that's something that we talk about an awful lot, and we have to drive that home, and I have to drive that home, so that's on me. And that is true. Nick Sirianni makes this a massive point of emphasis, yet this season, the Eagles have played like a sloppy team, like they have a little bit of this Super Bowl hangover, that they're still working off of the success from last year. But in training camp, another thing that bothers me, told you I'm heated, they kept saying 2024 was 2024. 2024 is in the rear view. This is a new slate. This is a new season. This is a new team. This is a new schedule. We have new goals. Yet you're not playing like a motivated football team. And you got by the first 4 weeks of the year dangerously. Today, you couldn't get by and survive. And it bites you in the ass and it costs you a football game. And the sequence in the fourth quarter, at least the 3 plays, I should say, in the fourth quarter, are the ones that are really going to bother the Eagles the most because they had ramifications on scoring opportunities, and it also impacted the clock after the Eagles gave up the lead, and they needed to come back from an 18-17 deficit after Sean Payton went for 2. But they went down 18-17 with more than 7 minutes to play. Yet here's where they really cost themselves the ballgame and shot themselves in the foot. The 2nd and 1, Denver's 48-yard line. Hurts converted an 8-yard pass to Devontae Smith. You get into Broncos territory on the run-pass option. Would have put the Eagles past midfield. They could have kept their no-huddle attack instead. Also, when you make mistakes like this and there's a penalty, it stops momentum too. They were set back 5 yards because Tyler Steen was ruled ineligible downfield. And that has really plagued the Eagles on RPOs in the past. Hurt him again. And that's on Hurts. That's on the offense too. Then the Eagles did not convert the first down or second down or third down. They kept their offense on the field for that 4th and 4 at the 49-yard line of their own. Hurts connects with Devontae Smith. The ultimate clutch play. 30-yard pitch and catch, which would have put the Eagles in field goal range. They would have been able to take the lead, 18-17 game at this point. Fans going crazy. Another flag. Because Barkley, who went out to the right, then came back into the backfield, flanking Hurts to his right, was not set. There were 9 seconds on the play clock when Barkley went into motion. There were 2 seconds when he returned to the backfield. Still plenty of time for him to get set. Another thing that Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense, they keep saying, Jordan Mailata made it a point this week and said we need to correct it, is how the Eagles don't get to the line of scrimmage fast enough. Why isn't there a sense of urgency? So then, after the long ball to Smitty, Eagles had to punt it. So the defense needed to go back on the field. And at this point, the defense is starting to collapse. The Broncos took possession at the 5-minute mark. They converted 1 third down. Then they were stopped a yard shy on their next third down. Would have been 4th and 1 at the Eagles' 28-yard line. 2:21 to go. Still plenty of time left. Once again, a flag. And at this point, the Eagles' defense continues to reel and get tired. Zach Bond hits R.J. Harvey late, trying to fight through a tackle by Drew McCuba, who had a couple of nice plays, reading and diagnosing. And Bond, who's been fantastic this year, one of the best linebackers in the NFL, did what he's coached to do. Ensure the ball carrier is down. Make sure that Harvey is short of the sticks. Officials thought Bond lunged too late, flagged him 15 yards, unnecessary roughness, takes more time off the clock. Then the Broncos able to get that easy field goal, makes it a 4-point game. And then the Eagles couldn't kick a field goal. They had to score a touchdown. Ball game. So dumb football really pisses me off. The Eagles played a lot of dumb football here today, and it cost them, and I'm heated about it. So I wanted to vent here on the microphone in front of the camera here on Eagles Now and really give everybody a perspective of kind of what happened today. Because some fans are blaming the officiating. It's not the officiating. May have had a little bit of something to do with the Eagles losing that game, but mostly the Eagles are to blame. Offense growing stale after the Saquon wheel, bad penalties, dumb penalties, avoidable mistakes all day long. And then late in the game, when that all accumulated and all added up, it really cost Philadelphia. All right. Sorry for the break that we had to take there in the middle of the show because I had to reset that password. Brutal. Kind of threw me off my flow. But late night Eagles talk. I'll be back in the studio early tomorrow. Continue to give you the best Eagles news. And I'll catch you soon here on the show. Peace.